Hi, I'm Douglas Estes, Associate Professor of Religion at New College of Florida.
And I'm Alicia Mercado Harvey, Assistant Professor of Spanish, Portuguese, and History at New College. And today we have our guest. Could you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Jienian Zhang. I'm an Assistant Professor of Sociology at New College.
So, Jienian, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, you came 2 years ago, right?
That's right.
From the University of Wisconsin, which is, I understand, at the time, your program was like ranked #1, right, in the country. And so how was the experience of going through such a prestigious program?
I enjoyed my time there. I met amazing colleagues, and some of them are still remain my friends till this day. And I really enjoyed my time there. I learned a lot. Like I said, I'm an ethnographer, so I had the fortune of working with some amazing minds in our field.
And how did you decide on ethnography? Why did you go that route?
It kind of, so I may say in a kind of cheesy way, I didn't find ethnography found me. It's just one of those things. Some of the works I read, some of the methodological papers I read, I just found those things to speak to me particularly, and kind of works with naturally with how I think. So I don't have to push myself too much to appreciate for what it is.
Great. That sounds fascinating.
So the really big question is Wisconsin weather or Florida weather? Which one?
Ooh, what a toughie. Beautiful. We have the beautiful bay. We have beautiful banyan trees, which
Right.
I love. I do miss the seasonality
Okay.
of the Midwest. I miss the snow, but only the sight of it, not so much having to deal with it.
Right, of course, right.
The idea of it's always, nice.
Right, of course. So tell us a little bit about why you came to New College and maybe some of the classes that you teach here.
Yeah. So, I've always wanted to be stay in academia. I always wanted to be a professor. I love that you're able to do research, and also you can teach some of the most brilliant young minds.
Right.
I find that combination it's just extremely appealing to me, just again, like naturally.
Right.
I think New College is a great fit for me. They were looking for a social psychologist, which I am.
Right.
So every, on the job ad, just everything it mentions, oh, that's me. And then, so it's, right time, right place. And then for classes, like I said, I'm a social psychologist. I teach Introduction to Social Psychology. I also teach the social methods class in sociology. So that's a required course for sociology AOC. And then this semester, I'm teaching sociology of education and sociology of children and youth.
Okay, great. So let me ask this question. Sometimes I get a variety of answers. Do you have a favorite class? Is there something that you just really love to teach? If you don't, it's fine.
Yeah, I love all of them.
Okay,
I love teaching all of them. But if you were to make me to pick one favorite, I would have to say my methods class.
Okay, good. Why?
It's I kind of tell my students it's kind of my baby. In some ways.
I see.
Really distilled everything I've learned through trial and error into that class. So I think I captured the essence of what makes a good sociologist. But that's just my personal opinion. I do my best.
Yeah.
I really enjoy exposing students to philosophy of knowledge, and then really teach them the trade of being a sociologist.
Wow, yeah, that sounds like a really interesting course.
Yes.
So I can see why you like it. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your research. I know that you work on a variety of things like youth, children, right? So tell us about what I know you have a few things you're working on right now. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in understanding youth culture, specifically from an interactionist perspective. for example, my most recently published article on how youth navigate emotional distress or emotional pain, identify what I call morbid talk. So they engage in what I call morbid talk to, relieve emotional distress, to build social solidarity with one another. So morbid talk is where they joke about suicide, trauma, and emotional pain, and there are specific interactional rules involved in doing that.
Right.
And additionally, I also work on I'm trying to work on this theory paper on how we think about youth culture now, given social media. But that's a very new project. I'm still working on it. So yeah, it's kind of generally what I do. Ethnographer, trying to understand children and youth, trying to understand interaction rules, specific cultures, so on and so forth.
Yeah. And you recently published a peer-reviewed article on morbid talk. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So like I said, I was really interested in how youth kind of talk about pain, trauma, and suicide in this particular high school where mental health was a huge concern for the school district and the school, of course. So I found it such a fascinating cultural phenomenon. So I, as an ethnographer, I worked with the kids, and I really tried to understand their subjective understandings of what's going on, how to navigate their social world. So that's kind of the concept, where the concept of morbid, they didn't label it as morbid talk, right? That's where the concept of morbid talk emerged, and I worked to identify what those interactional rules are for someone to be able to engage in such talk.
Right. So speaking of that, I'm sure you're aware of this case, that now the parents are suing, ChatGPT because apparently it prompted a youth to commit suicide.
Oh, wow.
And so they're saying that this is something that it's kind of a trend of something that they're observing in AI, that some of it, that prompts people to do these things. So, I was wondering if you have any insights of, AI interaction in youth.
That's fascinating. Actually, that would be a fascinating next research project for me. Thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah, this just seems to be, very interesting. You worked on AI as well, right?
Yeah,
related to the Bible.
So, right. Well, I think the challenge is not only what AI says, but also what AI doesn't say. Right. In those, like if a youth reaches out to AI and it doesn't, it can commit errors on both sides. Also, the way, and this would be your field, but the way that AI speaks, like the language it uses is going to have a different impact. Like if it takes a logical approach,
right?
Or it takes a heartfelt approach. Like that can all impact how the person responds.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just playing with an AI app not too long ago. Depending on how you talk to them, they can talk in casual ways. They know some of the idioms to make it super casual, and sometimes they can talk in a very professional manner too.
Right.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Right. When we did the AI discussion group here on campus this semester, the AI intentionally chose a British voice, a British accent to try to, to convey some sense of
proper authority, proper English. That's
right. I was totally thinking that the whole time, like, stop speaking to me in a British accent because you're just trying to convey authority that you don't have.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it seems like AI is sort of like a chameleon. Like they fed all this information into this. And it has all these human biases because it's people feeding them the information. But the decisions that they make seems to be always trying to please the human. That's what that's what it seems like. The studies are saying that's how they're trying to, what they're navigating and trying to please whoever they're interacting with. So
that's
yeah.
Then they apologize.
Yes,
Yeah.
they feed you false information. That's another problem.
And
They
they
make it.
apologize when you point it out.
Right. And
Right.
they make up facts, that's the other thing. They lie all the time, which is something that I'm sure the creators of AI weren't expecting to happen.
And they lie well.
They do convincingly.
Convincingly.
Yeah. I mean, it has some features of a psychopath. That's the other thing. No, seriously, because it's all reason and no emotion. So that's closer psychologically to the mind of a psychopath.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's a great analysis.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about in the context of Florida, Florida universities, we've had this situation right now where sociology is out of gen ed. Like, how do you think there'd be strategies to attract students? Let's forget about gen ed, right? That's a thing that's done.
Yeah.
So now sociology may have actually an opportunity, more freedom to do things. So where do you see this scenario?
I really haven't thought. That's a really great question. I think I can only speak for myself, like how I always thought about sociology. I've been really successful at convincing people to be a sociology major, even when I was an undergrad sociology major. I think the way I personally approach it has always been the same. I've been very honest about kind of my journey and why I'm interested in this. That's one. And two, again very honest about I've been very intentional about showing students how social sciences, how we do research. I do think kind of that deep understanding, either through kind of me lecturing or through them doing hands-on research projects themselves, really can help them see how sciences are done, or in other words, how do we know what we know. That I think that transparency is really important for students because they are no longer intimidated by it, and also they know how to be consumers of social sciences research. Chances are a lot of us, the students might not, chances are they're not going to be, researchers like ourselves. They're more likely to be consumers of social sciences research. So I really want to make sure they know how to consume research in a responsible way.
Yeah.
I do think with those two pieces together, I do think students, for those who, want to understand human behavior, understand human minds, they're going to be naturally gravitated towards this subject. That's kind of my general approach since day one. And also, of course, introducing topics. For example, I'm thinking about developing a course on mental health in society. So how, one of the things in our cultural expressions of emotional distress are different across cultural contexts, across time. For example, I had this really interesting conversation with students about, my students in classes about, maybe in our parents' generation when they're just distressed, they'll say, oh, I'm sad or I'm stressed. But now we say, I'm depressed, right? Just that changes in our language, that in our culture shapes how we think about and express, right? Understand our emotional distress, our mental well-being. So those are the things, again, I'm kind of going
No, it's great.
a great depth about that. But just introducing, talk about, or maybe also a course on humor,
Yeah.
We all like, not all of us like humor, but, or like having humor in our lives, but a lot of people are liking a couple of jokes here and there. So how do you understand humor? What makes something funny? These specific topics that will have general appeal, but we cast a sociological lens. So I think that's a way, sociological ways of just one way of thinking, but that's one way of expose students to the specific way of thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of programs, in our campus that, seems like you definitely fit into the, the health, cultures, and societies, right? So tell me a little bit about how your work is involved with that, and also the Asian Studies program, right? We also have Asian Studies, so.
Yeah. So I actually presented that paper you mentioned,
Okay,
talk
right.
at that one of the brown bags we had, and I received really amazing feedback from them. You know, the professor from the English department. Then I mentioned things about things about kind of morbid talks in literature that I was not aware of. So really expanded my horizon. You know, maybe there's more projects to pursue in that specific topic too. Yeah, I haven't gotten a lot of chance to work with the Asian Studies program, but yeah, I think that'd be something I should probably look into more.
Yeah.
So students are always interested coming to New College and studying sociology. Sounds like there's a lot of practical things that they can learn by
Yeah.
studying sociology with you.
Yeah, I think so. I would
Yeah.
like to think so. I do my best. I think ultimately it's what they think of my
Right.
class.
Okay, sure.
But I'm always willing to adapt and see what students would need.
Okay, great.
So you get to do a lot of field work with the students?
Not yet, but that's something I'm looking to. I have advised students on their own fieldworks projects. So I'm really wonderful things. I have, yeah. So I've always been really interested in exposing students to ethnography as methodology, and it's really fun to talk with them about kind of iterative, messy process doing an ethnography project. So I think it's one of those, you know, like many trades and crafts that require a lot of mentorship. I think ethnography, for one, that's something I can provide students with, and also I have a lot of fun doing it as well. I also always think about ethnography as, you know, it's a really humbling experience for me because you get to really learn something you've never known before. You really understand what other people think, and you try to understand what other people think. I think it's such a great methodology, if not just because of that.
Right. Well, this has been a really good talk, fascinating. So, to our viewers out there and listeners, you know, if you have any questions about the sociology program at New College or specifically about what Jienian teaches, you can send her directly an email or email us, and we'll be happy to answer your questions.